and you're working and you're exposing yourself to different things. And like with complex PTSD, we were talking about it earlier. It's like a filing cabinet. Each one of these incidents, a death. It can't be. You would think nothing of it. And it's not every memory that seems to affect you. There's always key ones. Mine was I laid in bed one night and I could just see every single one of them. And at that point, I knew something had to change.
Hello, everyone. This is the Shepherd Station. We are glad to be here with you today. We are at 24 East Church Street. We're at the Stockyard in Headland, Alabama, on the square. If you come to see us today, we are closed. We are doing some remodeling. There's some big changes coming here. We think everybody's going to love them. So keep your eyes out for that and come see us. We will be opening back up on the 15th. Like I said, a lot of big changes, but hey, our show's coming to you today. Thomas has got some stuff he wants to give you.
Yeah, so cutthroatclub.com/The Shepherd is our sponsor for this episode. And this website, I was just looking through it and everything.
It is cool.
Listen, Christmas is right around the corner. For your son, this is, or for your dad, for your uncle,
your husband, ladies out there,
whoever shaves, like this is a great thing. Specifically, I want to say for sons because they have starter kits where they can figure it out and learn. They got safety razors and straight razors, but it's all classy. It's really premium, cool looking razors, and so check that out if you want to get your son a gift that's gonna like look really good and also help him learn a valuable skill. Cutthroatclub.com/The Shepherd. You get a 10% discount if you use our link. So go check it out and see if you like anything and support us in the process. We'd really appreciate it.
And continue to support us on all the platforms we're on, YouTube, Spotify, Apple. Subscribe. Give us the content you want us to talk about. Which brings me to, we have got, I need to say this. If you notice, we don't have Andy in the studio today. Andy called me a little while ago. Our prayers here with the Shepherd Station go out to all the people affected by all the recent hurricane activity. And now we've got another one that's coming up that's really threatening Florida. So we need to be in prayer for them to, hopefully God protects them and doesn't wipe the south end of Florida out. But Andy, we've mentioned this before, he works for a company that helps to provide security for those different areas. And he is swamped right now. So I completely understand why he's not here today. He's got a big job to do to help take care of those areas and keep people safe. So our prayers are with you, Andy. Hopefully you can get everything done that you need to do. Sorry you're not here today, but we'll see you next time. Outside of that, we do have a very, very, very interesting show for you today. I have with me to my right, Mr. Jason Burt, retired first responder out of the fire services. He spent 5 years with Eufaula, and then he retired after 20 years with Dothan Fire Department as a captain in the fire department, and has had some very, very interesting experiences over the recent past, right?
Correct.
And we are here to talk about that today, more specifically psychedelic treatments.
Correct.
Which is something that I've been real interested in lately. Again, I give plugs. Look, again, we don't know Sean Ryan, but I listen to him a lot, and I really respect him, and I really think that he has a very good show, and he really he pushes the use of psychedelics as a positive thing. So that got me looking into it because there's a lot of benefits that come out of that. The word psychedelic kind of sends people into this. Oh, I don't want to touch that.
Yeah, 1960s, 70s thing.
Exactly. Let's drop some acid.
Yeah.
Have a trip. But so let's kind of dive right into that as to what got you wanting to talk about that. How you have an experience with that?
Well, in 2012, I was diagnosed with PTSD. I started trying the traditional routes of treatment, counseling, even did EMDR. What didn't get quite the response I expected out of it. It always seemed like when I left the office within 30 minutes, I was, kind of right back where I was at. Talk therapy and stuff was not getting me there.
So for everybody listening, explain what EMDR might be.
Eye movement rapid dissertation, I believe is the exact
yeah.
stuff. So basically they do something, you're supposed to follow your eyes, you're supposed to see different things and then you talk your way through it. Rapid eye movement dissertation or something. So I tried that, wasn't getting anywhere. I was still having the nightmares, the hot flashes, still drinking a lot. That's a big problem with PTSD. Because what you're trying to do is you're trying to escape the reality. That 45 minutes of being drunk or intoxicated, it's always seems like it's worth it just because you can get away from those thoughts and those memories. And it's not every memory that seems to affect you. There's always key ones. Mine was a little girl that passed away in a car wreck, probably in 2008. And mine was complex PTSD.
Why do you think it's always obviously that's kind of a crazy question.
It's always the old and it's always the young.
It's always, well, with me, it's children, because I had, a couple of different, more than a couple, but with children, those are always the ones I can see.
Yeah, I think it's the innocent of life.
Yeah.
You're the 40-year-old person that it just, they're in the peak of their life, but somehow or another it doesn't bother you near as bad. Like an older lady in her 90s in a wreck begging you to help her, and you know good and well that there's nothing that you can do,
Right.
Except help keep things going until the inevitable happens.
Yeah.
But many of them, I laid in bed one night and I could just see every single one of them. And at that point I knew something had to change. I mean, I'm getting up and I'm changing clothes in the middle of the night because I'm soaking wet. And so we started looking for different ideas. We started looking at the ketamine route, the psyllium mushrooms, that sort of stuff. And then once again, we go right back to Sean Ryan. And that show came on, and he hadn't done his yet, but he was talking about ibogaine and the granddaddy of psychedelics for PTSD treatment. So we started learning more about Marcus Capone and his journey with ibogaine. And at that point, that's when I decided that this was something I needed to pursue.
Now, when you say ibogaine, this is not anything that has been approved to be
No,
done
this is
over
still
in
a
this
Schedule
country.
1
Right.
drug in the United States that cannot be used here. It was legal in Canada up till about 10 years ago, and it's not legal there either.
So really quick, before you get into all of that, you had tried everything you said, right? Before
I had tried everything that I could think of, and
because
I've
I know
done-
there are going to be people that are going to be like, well, is it necessary really? Like
yeah,
what?
and I'm not saying that EMDR and talk therapy doesn't work in drugs and Zoloft. Your medications and those sort of things are not going to work for everyone. Ibogaine may not be the answer for everyone. You may have the answer from doing talk therapy.
Yeah. Try to move that mic just a little bit.
But
Sorry.
I had been. That's fine.
I want everybody to hear what you're saying.
I just felt like I was not getting anything from it, and we had been doing this for 9 years, and the loss of sleep was really becoming an issue.
Well, let's face it. I've been through a lot of that too. You don't spend any length of time in that kind of service, be it whatever first response or military, and you don't have some trauma. It's not going to happen.
That's right.
But a lot of the things that people do too, whether it's Zoloft, whether it's alcohol, they're Band-Aids.
That's right.
That's really all they are. And I went through the alcohol issues very, very heavily. And I don't know how it was with fire, but it sounds a lot like the fire department is very similar to
very, very.
police.
Yeah.
As in, when you are off and you are on your own time, you're trying to get away from, okay, I don't want anything to do with that, and I've got to numb some stuff.
That's right.
And the best way to numb some stuff is, a bottle of liquor.
Yeah. And when you're in your first 10 years in the fire service, you're looking for every opportunity you can to be, hoorah,
Right.
that hero.
Exactly.
And you're working and you're exposing yourself to different things. And like with complex PTSD, we were talking about it earlier, it's like a filing cabinet. Each one of these incidents, a death. It can't be, you would think nothing of it, just a death of someone. But somehow or another, that may be traumatic to you based on your experiences of life and other things that have gone on. So that becomes that file in that cabinet. And then the next thing you know, you have another one. And eventually it may take 40, it may take 14. But when that cabinet's full, that's when things are going to change.
Yeah.
And then we were also talking about, the job, 25 years. Well, some people may work a whole career and never have anything happen, and have one event happen after their career that filing cabinet snaps and it goes off, and they start having issues. The biggest problem, I think, in fire, military, police, and EMS is that we have learned how to do our jobs, but we don't know how to go home from those jobs.
What would you say to somebody that says, well, I've got a large filing cabinet, I can handle lots of that, it's not...
It's a matter of time before it's going to fill up. They're going to have something happen to them. And we go back to the early days when Eric and I started in the 90s and late 80s. It was something like that happened. It was tough it out, man. Tough it out. Suck it up, brother.
Yeah,
Suck it
that's
up,
what-
son.
you just got to keep going.
And then you talk about guys from World War II, Vietnam. There's a lot of PTSD from those times, but they called it shell shock.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of those guys just kept those things to themselves. And, as we as a society have grown and realized what these things are, and it is a mental issue that needs to be addressed. And Ibogaine is a tool for that.
So going into the Ibogaine issue, because I haven't heard any, well, I take that back. I'm sure you watched the episode with, I believe his name is Tua Lamb.
Yeah.
Former, I think he's a Green Beret.
Correct.
And now he has a different take with his experience. And I think he's still dealing with some things. Yes. But now that might be the only negative one that I've seen. And it's not necessarily negative. I mean, he had some positive things to say too. But, with all the benefits that can come out of this, and everything that I've seen has been very, very beneficial, why do you think that they're not using that in the United States?
I believe it's because, well, first of all, it's a Schedule I, so it takes an act of Congress and Senate to pass that to make it come back to the United States. Education-wise, I don't know. It's just kind of hard to say. The acceptance of it is very difficult.
I know that for me.
It took marijuana and those sort of things a very long time period to change that also.
And growing up for me, it was kind of put off as taboo. You do these things if you don't want to be a smart person or successful. You do these things if you want to get high. You take, because psilocybin is mushrooms.
That's right. Yep.
So, that was always associated with the hippies and the people that you don't want to be like if you want to be successful in life, And so I think there's a lot of stigma even that you're probably having to push through that isn't just governmental restriction, but also like people thinking that this is something that is going to make your life worse, not better.
That's right. And that was one of the issues I had with it was that, being conservative Southern American was like, is this really something I want to try to do?
Look,
and I'm like,
outside of the norm.
It's very out of the norm.
Yeah.
I think when I left Beyond, which is the facility I went to in Cancun, I asked Talia, one of the co-owners of Beyond, I said, have you ever had anybody from Alabama? She said, no. You're the very first one.
I have an uncle in New Jersey, and we'll go up there every now and then over the summer, over the winter, or whatever, and I'll talk to him, and he always talks about psilocybin and psychedelics and how they help with a lot of that stuff. And that's where I first started really hearing it was from him. But it was much more accepted northern practice than it is southern practice for sure. So to hear you talking about it, I feel like I'm up north right now. You know what I mean? Like you don't hear about that.
Well, after we did that, when we were doing the research, my wife and I, we looked at ketamine. But ketamine has its own set of issues as well.
Yeah. What is ketamine?
Ketamine is it's a horse tranquilizer,
basically.
Okay. But
very strong.
It's very strong, and
now that's also
that's what killed Luke Perry.
Yeah,
or Matthew Perry.
Yeah,
Excuse
Matthew
me.
Perry. That's what they're saying, and then
so it can become addictive.
Also,
as well.
Skid Row, right? Or is it Skid Row? No, is it L.A.? What's that? It's the main drug of use in L.A. On that.
Oh, you
know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. It's part of it though. It's part of the blend, I think.
It might be Skid Row actually. I can't remember, but
it's Skid Row of L.A.
Yeah, people that are you see these videos, and there's this great YouTube channel, not a sponsor, Soft White Underbelly, and they'll interview a lot of these people on ketamine, actually, I think,
Yeah.
and horse tranquilizer is like what it's called, and so you see them though in these long stretches of road where they're just all bent over and just completely, because they're abusing it.
That's right.
Not using it for its purpose and intended purpose, which is either to tranquilize a horse or help mental health issues.
That's right.
So yeah, I think that's also another reason you see that stigma.
And you're not going to recreational use of Ibogaine. I can promise you
so
that.
there's I want to know that. So here's the thing. So with ketamine, it does have a, it's, you just said it. I'm trying to think of the word. It has an addictive property.
That's right.
And
There was actually a guy when I was at Beyond there for ketamine addiction.
okay. So I don't know that much about Ibogaine other than what I've been looking into with, following the psychedelic treatments. What's the chance of any addiction to that?
Zero.
Zero.
Okay, so there's
much.
ketamine, which is horse tranquilizer.
Yep.
Ibogaine?
Ibogaine. Ibogaine.
And what is that? That's just a medicine?
It's the root bark from the iboga tree
Okay.
out of Gabon, Africa.
Okay.
The Tweety tribe is the one who's been using it for probably hundreds, thousands of years.
Okay.
And it's the only place that it's grown in the world. So that stuff is produced there, and they manage it, and it's limited to how much they will send out
Oh, really?
of the country per year, because the tribe, I guess the tribe leader, and they oversee it.
Okay.
Because you have to do, when you're taking the drug, part of the agreement with them is that you have to do the ritual of how
Okay.
they take the Ibogaine. You have to nod your head, different things before you take the drug.
Okay.
So again, that goes back to kind of a conversation you and I were having with psychedelics. And, this may be a hotbed topic here, and somebody may look at me and go, well, you're crazy. I think God gives us ways to heal ourselves. You're saying, okay, so I the whole time I wasn't sure where Ibogaine came from. And thank
Exactly.
You thank you for, I thought it was like something synthetic.
No, it's natural.
And being not synthetic, it's a naturally grown substance. I mean, you have psilocybin from the mushrooms, and they use that for psychedelic treatments as well.
Yeah.
Some of that is beneficial to people. And now this, I think God gives us ways to medicate ourselves,
Yep.
and fix the things. Big pharma lends itself too much to keeping people sick, I think.
In ways.
That and hey, that's something that, that's just my belief. But I think God gives us these ways to fix ourselves, but could be another conversation down the road.
Yep.
So I'm curious about the whole process. So let's go on your journey of your when you finally decided. Hey,
So
this is something
I
we need to
decided
do.
I'm going to do it. So I reached out to Beyond. First, one of the things that my wife and I did is my wife's a nurse. We wanted to have a place that had a facility that was managed more like a healthcare facility, because
Now,
believe it or not,
assuming-
you can probably fly off down to Mexico and they can give you the drug and kick you over in that corner and never
you can
monitor
do that
you
in
and
Mexico.
sort of
Yeah,
stuff.
there's no doubt. I'm assuming she was 100% behind this.
Yeah, she was actually. She said if it helped me 50%, she would pay for it. So,
Hey.
so
She's like,
we went through the process and we researched it out, narrowed it down to pretty much two. I would have really liked to been able to go to the VETS, VETS, but that is strictly Marcus Capone and his wife's facility, and it's strictly for veterans only.
oh, okay.
But they helped me reach out to find some of the other places, so I will give them kudos for that. But I ended up narrowing it down to Beyond. So I reached out to them. They filled out the form. The first part of it is you talk to a pre-admissions specialist, and you're telling
Real
them what's
fast.
basic. Go ahead.
What is Beyond? Exactly?
Beyond is the name of the facility. It doesn't have.
Is it like a medical center, or is it?
No,
what
it's
is-
just Tom Fiegel and Talia Eisenberg developed Beyond. Both had serious drug problems in the
Okay, it's like
years
a-
ago.
it's- I got you.
And they both were pioneers in it, I guess you could say, because they did some of the trials that we talked about, the
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of backwoods
Yeah.
places,
Okay.
but have changed it to where it's a more of a medical type facility. There's doctors on staff, ICU nurses on staff.
Okay.
I've never had so many EKGs and blood draws done.
Okay.
In,
And that's what
in
people
a
need to
10-day
hear. Is
period.
that, hey,
That's
this
right.
This
Yeah.
isn't just some,
So this is safe.
hole in the wall.
It was
Yeah.
a very safe
Clinic,
facility,
yeah.
and I'm sure there's others just like it. But when I went down, you did the pre-mission, you talk to him, he finds out what you're going to do. Then you have to do a face-to-face conversation by computer with one of their doctors, and they talk to you about your medical history, your different things that are going on. Because if you have a lot of cardiac issues, this is something you can't do. Because it depletes the potassium or the magnesium, in your bloodstream. So the whole time you're in treatment, they have to be increasing your magnesium levels. So they boost you up before you take it. But anyway, you go through that, and then you pay your part and secure your airline ticket. They give you dates to go in. Basically, at this facility, there's 2 people coming in a day and 2 people going out. So you and the person that you come in with the same day, you travel through that whole process together. Once you get there, they do a lot of medical screening, initial EKGs, blood draw, urinalysis, all the time, every day. They do it every day. And then you start through the process of learning how to make the medicine work for you when you're in your dream. And that's a 3-day process of different things. It's a beautiful facility, pool, massages, all that good stuff. But you also have sound therapy, water therapy, all these different things that you're doing the whole time you're there, because you're trying to get yourself in a relaxed state of mind and let everything go away from you. You have to give up your cell phone. You can't talk to anybody. They'll talk to your wife or significant other at home for you before you go into treatment. They'll talk to them as you're in treatment or come out. So then you get ready and you learn all the things that basically what you're trying to do is narrow down what are you going to ask the drug to fix for you.
Okay. All right. So you say there's a process, a 3-day process.
The whole time you're there for 10 days.
Okay.
So on day 4 is when you take what they call a flood dose. That's
What's part of that 3-day process preparing to do that?
So the first day you're there, basically you get there halfway through the day. So you come in, they basically do a short physical on you, and then you can go to eat dinner, sit down, get to know everybody that's there. The next day, you start learning how to do meditation, ice baths, and then you go to these. With Tom, you go and basically you go through this book and you learn these processes of, okay, what are you looking for the drug to do for you? And you have these different things and you write them all out, and then you start narrowing them down to the main specific thing that you're wanting from this drug.
Okay.
Because you'll figure it out as you go and asking the questions as he walks you through it. It's not like, why do I have PTSD? It's not like that.
Okay.
So basically mine was, why do I put others in front of my family?
Okay.
Others' needs in front of my family. That was like the fire department. Like this, it's kind of a broad question, but it's also specific to the drug.
Okay.
So that when you go into that dream, you're basically asking it, this is what you want to correct. Now, Marcus Capone, he does this every year. I don't know if he's a glutton for punishment or what.
He does a treatment every year?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But he does it. He asks it a different question every time. And he says every time he's done it, he gets a different response. And he sees the methods of healing from it.
That's interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
So, like, would you equate, like, what you feel like, it's a dream, you keep saying, right?
Yeah, it's a dream, but God, it's so real. It's
It's
unbelievable.
like, it's very different than
yes.
just
It's
like
not
you're
like
in deep
it's not like
REM
no, it's
sleep
not like
or-
having a deep REM sleep. No, it's
Okay.
nothing like that. Is the visions that you see are just real as me and you standing here. My father passed away in 2010, and my mother in 2018. And I had dreams of them. I was hunting with my dad, and I could smell the cigarette smoke. I could smell the oak trees around us, just as vivid as me and you said.
Oh, wow.
Wow. So then when you're doing this, you're experiencing this. You're going from dream to dream, thing to thing.
So, I go through everything, and I've decided they weigh you the day before you go in. You get to go in and see the people ahead of you having their treatment. So it's a very dark room, about the size of this one, probably like 20 by 30. It's a dark room, 2 ICU beds in it. They have you hooked to a monitor the whole time, IV, and they're monitoring. What they're doing with the IV is they're monitoring your magnesium, and they see it based on what your cardiac monitor readings are. Because what happens with your magnesium is it separates your ST segments separates. So what that does is it changes the pre-fill of your heart. So the wider that gets, the more chances are your heart will quit.
Oh, wow.
That's the risk of ibogaine.
Okay.
So if you don't have someone giving you the magnesium,
When you need it.
that's right.
I
Then
see.
Your heart would just
Stop.
run out. Would it just like a pump? It just ran out of blood. It just
Right.
can't work.
Wow.
So they measure
lot
you
of
up
trust.
and all that stuff. Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, that's a lot
and they're
of
checking
trust.
this every 15 minutes. And,
Yeah.
and you always when you lay there before you start dreaming, he comes and he got this very small bag of fluids up there. And, you used to go in the hospital and see these big bags. Well, what it is they're mixing that bag and changing it based on what your cardiac readings are as you go.
Have you ever seen Inception?
I have, but I
That's
can't.
a good movie.
This is what it makes me think of, because that's exactly like in my head, I'm just picturing this room for
you need to
anybody
watch
that's
that.
seen Inception.
That's a good movie, but
Anyway, sorry.
I don't know if it's
it's not. It's not. No, it's not. It's not. I'm sorry. Sidetracked.
So they they weigh you up, and they say, well, this is the dosage you're going to take. You get to see what the facility looks like, you and the other guy that came in with you. Mine was a guy from Ohio, and we walked through, and the next morning, you go to bed. Now, by the way, might I say the food, this is authentic Mexican food down there, y'all. I'd almost would pay the money just for the food.
Oh, wow. That good.
Wow.
And smoothies, any smoothie you want any time of the day.
Oh, no wonder he doesn't
So
want
they,
to
take,
hear.
they take care of you at this facility.
Oh, very much so. Yes.
Yeah.
But the morning of 6 o'clock in the morning, you wake up, probably 5:30, and the nurse comes and gets you from your room. They take you and you do an EKG, a urinalysis, and a blood draw. Then you go over to the waiting room to go into the treatment room. And what they're doing is they're getting all your last minute numbers down to what they're going to need to give you before you go under. So they take you into the room. They put you in the bed, very comfortable bed. They put noise canceling headphones on you. And it's a blinder that it's not really like on your eyes, but it's like goggles that are really, really soft that are blacked out. So you can open your eyes in them and not see anything. So you're both laying there. The doctor's there. The nurse's station's at the foot of the bed so they can see everything that's going on with you the whole time. And I think I took 820 milligrams of ibogaine. That was my flood dose. So a flood dose is one that just takes you in to the wow land, I guess is what you would call it.
So hold on right there. Stop right there. So they have you laying down in a dark room.
It's a semi-dark room, like
Right.
light enough you can see things.
But you have noise canceling headphones on, so you can't hear anything, and you're wearing goggles that basically, so they're cutting all your sensory, except your
but
feel.
They end up playing music through the headphones. Is what they do.
Oh, really?
See, that would already be something that would probably freak me out.
That's what I was gonna
You
say.
know,
Like
so-
claustrophobia would set in for me.
Yeah, I could see that.
In a weird way, I can't sleep with something on my face.
Well, once the dream starts,
You're not-
You're
yeah,
going to
you're
forget all
obviously
about
not
your
aware.
phobias and stuff.
at all.
So,
Yeah.
they put you in there and you take the medicine. You have to do the little bow and all that stuff that the tribe requires of you to do.
Now, why? What is there? Is
Because
there a
that's what
certain-
the Tweety tribe requires.
That's what they
of the
require,
medicine
and
to
they
be
keep
given.
that.
Yeah, because that's, I guess, of how they believe God wanted them to
to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So you're sitting there and the doctor tells you, he says, you got about 30 minutes, you're going to start hearing a crackling in your ears. When you hear that crackling, you need to get up and go to the bathroom because you need to empty your bladder because that's when your journey, that's what they call it, is going to begin. So you're sitting there, and at this time they don't have the blindfold on you. Mm-hmm. They don't really have the music on you. You're just really kind of sitting there. Mm-hmm. So once you get up and go to the bathroom, when you come back and sit down, they hook everything back up to you, the monitor.
So you heard the crackling?
An IV. Oh, yeah. So I heard the crackling, and it's not like, it's kind of like you just hear it starting in your ears. And then they put the blinders on you and the sound. So what they're playing is this Batuidi tribe music. Mm-hmm. And it's very different. Very, very different. You can find it if you go to Spotify or any other stuff, type in BWITI, and there's some soundtracks in there.
Okay.
And play them. They're
BW.
drums and all kinds. BWITI.
TI. Okay.
So, so the crackling starts. So part of your training is they teach you how to focus on what you're seeing. Mm-hmm. So I'm sitting there, and you know, good old country boy from Alabama, you ain't used to seeing all this sort of stuff, but you've seen all this stuff for years around about psychedelic colors, right? Like these bright greens and these bright purples and bright blues. Yeah. Well, I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden I see this high orange and high purple dots. And part of what you're training is you're trying to focus into it. When I did, y'all, it was like I came into this room of TVs. And I'm in this dream. And everything I see around me is memories from my life. So I can basically look at something and I'm in it. Mm-hmm. I go through all different things in my life. You know, I remember things when I was young, like I was talking about with my dad, hunting. My mom made this recipe. It was steak continental. It was this thing she made, and it had a certain smell to it. And I remember being there hunting with my dad, smelling cigarette smoke, and next thing I know, I'm in the kitchen with my mom, and she's in her late 50s, early 50s, you know, and I'm just a kid. I'm like 6. And I can remember every bit of this, just as vivid as the day.
Is that a memory you had at any point before?
No, it was just a normal vision.
Yeah, like you had never thought about that memory before this, though.
Yeah, no, never. I mean, it's just a common thing that has happened.
Yeah.
So I'm going on. I see all these different things. I see my children born again. My wife, and we get married. How we meet. Different important people in my life. Not people that are in my past, except for maybe friends or something like that.
Now, are you like aware that you're doing this, or is this just happening to you?
It's just happening.
Okay, you're not like choosing what you want to go look at.
No,
like,
I can. I mean, like if I look at something and concentrate on it enough, I can change that realm I'm in.
You're there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this goes on and on and on. Then I start going through. It's basically showing me the good things in my life. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. So then I start going through all the trauma events.
Okay.
And start seeing the reasons why it's not. Why do you carry this with you? That's basically, now I'm starting to see, why are you carrying this with you? Why do you worry of this? Mm-hmm. This is not. It's not of this importance to you. You know, I don't know how you see it or how you talk about it, but it was basically telling me that don't carry this burden. It's not your burden to carry.
Right.
So, and the reason I say how godly this is because when you look at it in this perspective that I looked at it is, God was showing me the good in my life. My mother, my father, my wife, my kids, all the different people that were in my life. Then he showed me the things that I had done. They were good. Mm-hmm. But don't carry them with you. You tried. Mm-hmm. You did what you could. So then I move along to different other things that are in my life, and so then all of a sudden, like 2 weeks before that, and I can probably be more vivid, but when I was saved and different things, I saw those things, But what's really astounding is that there's a part of it that, like, you're in this, when you transition from different part to different part, it feels like you're in this. It feels like you're in the Superdome and it's dark, and there's one light above you, And what it looks like is it looks like a portal, a ship portal. And someone's looking through it. You can't tell what they are. And most everybody that ever does Ibogaine has this vision.
No. Really?
And what it is,
Really?
it's the vision. And they say what it is God looking in on you.
That's wild. So the way that, some have described it, would you describe it as like an out-of-body experience? Now, that's been one of the things that I've been told is kind of a description of that. And there's a completely different 180-degree look at it that from some people. I tend to agree with what you're saying based on what you're telling me and based on some of the things I've seen. I think this is something that, to me, is God kind of helping you.
Yeah, there was many verses out.
But there's many people that look at it like, oh, no, you need to stay away from that. That's not godly. That's evil. That's
well,
not
and that's
body
what I was going to
experience.
ask you was, you're a Christian, you're saved at
Yes.
this point. What were your struggles with this? Because even just hearing you talk
before
about
I
it,
left,
I'm like,
I talked to numerous people that were Christian friends of mine, and
Yeah.
no one ever said, no, you don't need to do
Really?
that. That's a drug.
Right.
Every one of them said that, well, if this is something natural that's on this earth, then God put it here for us to use.
Thank you.
to
That's
help,
what I
to help with mental
And
health.
as I wrote down a verse, and I cannot remember what it was because the day after I had my treatment, I meant to bring that book. I had all those notes in. I was just thumbing through the Bible, and I knelt down beside the bed and I prayed and I said, God, because it was on my mind. It still was on my mind. And I said, show me why. And it was a verse that said, of these things of this earth are given, I give to you. And it just reassured me at that point. I don't remember what verse it was. I have to look it up. But it just, I was like, at that point, I was like, okay, I'm good.
Yeah, I know in Genesis there's that moment where God says that to Moses or Noah, where he says all these plants, the plant bearing, anyway, the creation,
plants, the animals,
the plants,
all that
thing I've
yeah.
given to you, to rule and so yeah, I definitely could see that there for sure, and I think what I struggle with the most hearing it, what I would, which I mean, like, I'm right there along with your friends. I'm like, if it helps you, like 100%,
Yeah.
you need to do that. Explore whatever option is going to actually help you get mentally capable to do what it is God's called you to do on this earth. At the same time, the way you were talking about it is like, you got to ask it. Like, it has this life of its own, it feels like.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And my question is, what is that life? You know what I mean? What are we saying that thing is that you're talking to?
I think
Is
you're
that,
talking to God.
Okay.
Because this thing of the earth is,
You think it gives you a
God.
direct line to that?
I think it gives you as direct line as you can get.
Okay. So would you say,
Because
Go ahead.
everybody I talked to down there had that same,
yeah, right. That's
portal.
what I was going to,
That
that's what I
same
was like,
portal.
yeah.
Same
and you
thing.
focus on it, you can't focus on it. You try to
Is it? I mean,
squint and focus on it, you cannot focus
so the
on it.
description's the same from everybody. That's
It's like
interesting.
a very black room with a very round or square light. That's what most people say that they're looking in.
That
on
is
you.
very interesting.
And that's they explained it to me is they see that as the
So
God
how many
looking on you.
how many treatments did you, as far as in that 10-day period? How many? So your first 3 days are getting you ready for this. Then you had your what you called your flood dose.
Yeah.
How
So
many
let me
doses
let me finish where my experience.
Okay.
Because
Yeah, I want to hear that.
because the evil stuff that was the last part. I saw a lot of bad things that of this world that that you see on TV. And somehow in that dream and of that mindset, I felt like I was being told, you'll be okay. But a couple of weeks before that, I watched, what's the movie? Venom.
Oh, okay.
So and they tell you a lot of things that you see in your dreams will be reflected in actions that happen during the things that happened recently. So I'm in this room and I've watched all these videos, and all of a sudden this black blob comes in there and we're fighting. And I end up biting it and I started just eating it.
And this was in your
in my visions, yeah. So as soon as I finished it, all of a sudden I came to, and I was vomiting over the side of the bed. So what they tell you for that is that you've excreted all the toxins and evil from your body during that event.
Okay. Now, this is we're going to take this in a different direction a little bit. I'm going to bring something up. When stereotypically, in growing up, I grew up in like a charismatic world, Assembly of God and all these things. So I've seen a lot of that kind of stuff, or I've heard a lot of people that have seen that kind of stuff in exorcisms, right? When they say, I've never seen it, but when somebody is exorcised of a demon, they throw up.
Yep.
And that reminds me of that for some reason. Yeah. I'm not saying that that's what happened with you. I'm just saying it's strange that that's the thing they say, and that's what sort of sounds like happened to you. You got rid of these toxins. You come to out of this, right? You said you come out of it?
Yeah, I woke up.
You come back to the real world and you're vomiting.
I was grabbing rail and vomiting.
So this was a bad experience. This was part of bad part.
So then the nurse comes over to me, of course, and I've got to go to the bathroom and clean up. And the whole time he's like, don't open your eyes, don't open your eyes, don't open your eyes, don't open your eyes. Now, everything's off of me. He's unplugging me and getting me cleaned up so I can go to the bathroom. And he's like, do not open your eyes, don't open your eyes. So I go to the bathroom and he wipes me off, washes me up, cleans me up, and we're trying to get back to it because I'm still under Ibogaine, so he's still got to be able to monitor my levels.
So that flood dose, how long would that last?
I was in there 14 hours.
14 hours?
Yeah. I came out at 9 o'clock.
You were under an Ibogaine journey, we'll call it, for 14 hours.
Yeah.
Wait. Before you started vomiting, once you woke up and started
So
vomiting,
when I came out, that's where I was going with it. So when I came out, I remember taking the medicine at 7. It was like 6:45, something like that.
At night or morning?
In morning.
Okay.
Morning. So when we come out of the bathroom, my blind kind of lifts up like this. And I knew there was a clock at the entrance when I came in that was closer to my bed, but I couldn't see it because of the curtain on that side. And I happened to just kind of open that eye and look up. And the best I could make out the clock saying is it was 18:03. So it had been 12, almost 9 hours that I was under. But it felt like it went just like that.
Wow.
But when you do open your eyes now, brother, there's like all these dots in your eyes, and every one of them are just going.
Oh, yeah. That's why he was like, keep your eyes
you'll
closed.
get sick quick.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I got you.
And that's why I said this would never become addictive because I don't see
you're not going to want to do
going
this
out there and just want to take a flood dose of Ibogaine by any means.
It doesn't sound like it, no.
So does this happen to everyone at this point? Like they all throw up at this point?
No, not everybody does.
Not
I
everybody
think it depends on your situation.
Okay. Gotcha.
The guy that was next to me, Alex Walsh was his name, and no, he never got sick.
Okay.
Now I stayed sick after that.
Okay.
But it was like 9 o'clock the next morning before I finally started getting over my nausea. I stay up all night sick, but
okay.
But they keep you in there until your magnesium levels get high enough. So there were some people that even had to stay in there 3 and 4 in the morning because their magnesium levels didn't balance out quick enough. So they want to keep you in that secured, basically an ICU room.
Yeah, so that they can watch you.
That's right.
So is that the end of your journey when you woke up, though? And then they just kept you in there
and
monitored you?
So basically, that ended the visions. I mean, I kind of laid there in bed and listened to the music, and I'd have real short visions, but there was nothing spectacular about them. It was really reminiscing kind of things, like I remember this. But it was very tearful. I mean, it was very emotion-ridden. It was almost like somebody taking my brain out and kind of played basketball with it and then put it back in. It was because the next day they call that your gray day. You don't do anything the next day. So they called it your gray day, but it's like your reboot day because your brain has been through so much, you're just exhausted.
Wow.
Now, the third day, the day after my gray day, I've never slept so good in my entire life. I had no nightmares. I had no nothing. So basically what this did for me and my PTSD, and it's this way to today, is what used to dwell on me, I have to think about to remember.
Wow.
So I don't have those flashbacks anymore. Now, there are some other things that I would like to do. I think I'd like to go back and do it again to ask other questions, or maybe do micro doses to question some other things that I have. But after you do the flood dose, that's where you were going with it.
Yeah.
So you do the flood dose, you have your gray day, and then the next day you recover. The next day you go back into the treatment room. They have a second bed in there, and you do a quarter dose.
Okay. So
And what they're trying to do is they're trying to build what they call your nor-ibogaine levels up, because as they build your levels up for 6 months after you leave there, your neural pathways are changing.
That's where I wanted to kind
That's
of
where we're going with the TBI.
Yeah,
and
that's what I
sort of
wanted to
stuff.
find, because my understanding is basically, like you said, it's a reboot. They pulled your brain out, they play basketball with it. And
Yeah,
and you get rebooted, kind of like fixing a computer.
yeah,
All right. So my understanding is this helps to create new neural pathways.
correct.
Kind of healthier neural pathways.
Yeah, yeah.
And stops some of the ones that we developed over a length of time, which I never understood anything about that. I'm like, okay, I saw something bad, I did something bad. I had to do this, I had to do that, whatever. And, like we said before, back when you and I started, you just shoved it down and forgot about it.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what it really does to your mind.
Yeah, and it helps you to move the things that you're trying to hold on to and remember from one side of your brain to your other side, because I can't remember which side of the brain does what, but one comprehends, the other is storage. And men have a world's trouble about comprehension. I know women are going to love to hear that, but the comprehension, men hold on to it longer, so they don't process it over. So what this does is this helps you to process it over. You still keep it as a memory,
Right.
but it's not something, it's like if I asked you today, what color is your first car when you started driving? Green.
Yeah.
You got to think about it. Well, it's the same thing I have to do today about these incidents.
So now you got
Before
to
I could tell you it was purple like that right then,
Yeah, right.
So now I have to think about it in order to
So it's
draw
helped
it up.
you to stop dwelling on those things.
That's right. Yeah.
Right. That's,
Now, one of the things it did help me do too is it helped me to quit drinking. It helped me to quit dipping, and it helped me to quit cussing. But it does a lot of different things, and if you address it the right way when you come back, you can change so many things. It's unbelievable. Now, ibogaine is used for traumatic brain injury, PTSD, drug and alcohol rehabilitation.
So let's go into that TBI thing,
Go ahead.
because you and I were talking about that. And look, I mean, I'm no different than anybody else, but it's been almost a year now, and I was diagnosed with one, but due to the traffic accident I was in.
Yep.
And I have noticed, and even my wife has noticed, my anxiety has gone. I deal with it a lot, and I never used to. All right, and I'm still. You have the headaches, you have the dizziness, and that's constant all the time. I've gotten much better now because my speech has gotten. I know we've done this for a while, and it doesn't do it all the time, but that's gotten better. But it's like there have been times that I'm by myself, especially. And all these things that you and I discussed earlier, it's like something got knocked loose, and I'm reliving things left and right. So to look into this, because I want it to stop.
Yeah.
I do. The TBI can really kind of bring some of this stuff out,
Yeah.
and this is something that can treat that.
Yes.
So explain.
So the first person I ever saw that TBI affected that we talked about was Marcus Capone. Once again, it goes back to the guy I was talking about.
Now he was
He was a Navy breacher, Navy
breacher
SEAL,
for the Navy
breacher
SEAL for the SEAL
Navy,
team.
that's right.
Right.
And he had TBI, but his was so bad to the point that he could hardly even talk. And his wife basically found out about this, and I think the long story short was they were in the process of going through a divorce, and he didn't want one, she didn't want one, but they had to do something, and he wasn't wanting any help. He was kind of like with me about the to Ibogaine, like, no, I ain't doing no drugs. No, I ain't gonna be doing no Ibogaine. But he went.
Ryan
she
talked
said-
about this guy, didn't he?
Yeah, yeah.
Is
yeah.
this the guy that had the cane? That when he got through with the treatment, he no longer needed
That's
the cane.
right. Yeah,
too. Yeah, that's him.
Marcus
Okay,
Capone.
yeah.
And now he runs vets.
Yeah.
and he talks like he just carries on conversations just like any other businessman. You know,
Wow.
it's amazing. And he's done it. I think he told me. I think Dave said he's done it 4 or 5 times. But it's like he said, he owns it and he can do what he wants to. But I think he addresses it in different ways. And there's so many special ops guys that have done Ibogaine. I was the only one down there when I went for PTSD. Most were down there for drug rehab.
Really?
Yeah.
For drug rehab?
Now, drug rehab, from what I understand, Ibogaine has like a 95%.
Like you
takes it
said,
away.
you're not going to be addicted to Ibogaine.
No.
And that's...
No.
but
It takes your Ibogaine, it takes your narcotics addiction and just throws
sounds
it out.
like
You're
what
saying
you-
95% success rate
Success rate.
treating drug addiction.
Yes.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
Okay, I go back to what I said earlier. So you're showing a 95% success rate for an epidemic in the United States. Why are we not using that over here? You follow where I'm going with that? Why are we not using that? Because it just feels like they're trying to keep everybody sick and under,
Well, because if there's a... Well, okay, first, I think one size fits all is kind of a difficult thing to grab
Correct.
onto. You know, I would be very cautious of that if it were me. Even if I
Yeah.
thought it could help me, I'd be like, well, this just works for a lot of people, and you go and do it, and there's no side effects. And it's like, it's too good to be true.
Yeah, they're even now found after they've been, the research on Ibogaine was done in the 50s and it stopped. So now that they've gone back to doing it in the last 10, 15
Do you know why
years.
it stopped?
Because it became a scheduled, was it Schedule 1 or Schedule A drug?
because it apparently
Non-
works. So
Okay.
But they have started doing research. So now they've actually found that people that want to improve their motor and speaking skills can take it.
Now, here's
And it corrects. It
here's
makes
what
them
I want
better.
to
really,
equate this to. I did a paper on music therapy in college because I'm a musician and I got my degree in music performance. And so I gave a speech and I did a paper on it. And one of the things with music therapy, the reason why it's so effective is that it does create, it either creates or it uses neural pathways that are already there that are clean,
Right.
or it creates new ones in that sense. But one of the case studies is a man who was in a nursing home. I can't remember his name right now, but he was probably in his 70s and 80s, and he had dementia.
Right.
And could not talk. Basically, like you would think somebody that has a TBI, like they can't talk, he couldn't walk.
That's
he
right.
could barely. He was basically a vegetable, and they were taking care of him because of this dementia. But he'd have music therapy every day, and he had this iPod that had a list of these old songs on it from like the 70s that he
Yep.
loved, his favorite songs. He listened to this iPod for about, 10 minutes of his favorite songs. You hear him start singing them. You start to see him move.
can you share that to me?
Yeah.
And then after they turned it off, he'd be able to have like a 30-minute conversation with you, like straight on, like just like he never had a problem.
Right.
And then he'd slowly drift back to the way he was. And they say it's because dementia, they're saying, is because of the neural pathways are toxic. They've been gunked up and they can't take those same neural pathways anymore. So it circumnavigates. And then you said speech therapy, the same thing. Music accesses a different part of your brain. There are a lot of people that stutter, but they can sing without stuttering at
Yep.
all.
Yeah,
Yep.
I've seen that.
So Tom Fiegel, the guy that owns Beyond, when I was down there, he and I talked about that a lot. And he was talking about how they would like to research into Alzheimer's and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But right now, the
well, and
agendas they're
that's what
working
I'm
on.
saying. It sounds like
One of the reasons why they want to bring it to the United States is so they can broadly study it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right
So
now,
let's-
Stanford University is about the only one that'll participate.
It sounds like a more potent version of what.
So
Yeah.
let's talk about this. Let's back up this because it sounds a lot like this. All right. So my dad died from he passed away with cancer in I think it was 19, December of 19. He had cancer. Supposedly all the standard treatments for it, right?
Right.
You know, what are they?
Chemotherapy.
There you go.
Radiation.
Chemotherapy and stuff like that.
Yep.
And honestly, that stuff destroys your body.
Mm-hmm.
It really does. It just kills your body. So he did all that to start with, but fortunately, he went in remission, and we thought it was all gone, and it was for like 4 years, and then it came back. I'll tell you that story because honestly, I think that's what killed him, with the treatments ultimately. But my sister, who is a pharmaceutical rep, and I'm not going to state who she works for, but she's very big into holistic medicines. So now through all this stuff, and this is coming from a police officer, okay? So
Right.
This sounds
Yeah,
crazy.
right.
I honestly think that, it's not Ibogaine, it's not a psychedelic, it is a hallucinogen, but marijuana. Okay, so we take marijuana and we villainized it, but you have so many medicinal qualities from the marijuana plant.
Yep.
One of them being the treatment of cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And she tells me about this study, and I don't have all the information about it. We could get my sister on here. She could probably quote everything about it. But she tells me about this study. This one doctor is treating cancer with different forms of, and I may be saying this wrong, chemotherapy treatments. And in all of them, the cancer was not beaten.
Right.
It ultimately, overtook it. But then he treats the same thing with things from the marijuana plant. Mm-hmm. And it destroyed all the cancer. And to shorten this story, it's like everybody's, oh my God, you've cured cancer, blah, blah, blah. Well, we got to get this out. Well, no way.
Yeah.
We're not going to get this out. You can't make money from curing.
No.
You make money from treating.
Yeah.
And I think that might be where we are with this.
Well, it's just like the Ibogaine with COVID.
Exactly.
It's all the same.
We have a mental health crisis in this country. We have a drug addiction crisis in this country, with everybody coming back from the global war on terror, from this, we've got veterans that are, 22 a day, right? And I think that number is not necessarily completely right. I think it might be even more.
Oh, yeah.
You have law enforcement officers that go through a 25-year career, or even 10-year law enforcement officers, 5-year law enforcement officers. It doesn't matter. EMS, fire. When you see the trauma that all these different people, you have a mental health crisis in that. Mm-hmm. You have a suicide issue. There are several guys that I worked with that offed themselves because they couldn't deal with it anymore.
No.
Very good friend of mine. He was a Green Beret for 10 years on the teams, and it broke my heart. Buddies of mine called me. They said, "Hey, did you hear about so and so?" And I'm not going to say his name. I'm like, "What?" Because I knew as soon as he said it, what?
Yeah.
He 7 days and nobody even knew where he was. He put a gun in his mouth and blew his head off.
But can you imagine the pain that has to be going on for you to do something like that?
So exactly, and I know, and it's, come on, I've had crazy thoughts in the past. You deal with all this stuff, but to get to that level, I just go back to what I'm saying. You have all these different crises. You have cancer. I thoroughly believe that we have a cure for cancer. And now you're telling me that there's a product, I'll say a product, but a plant, a chemical that can do all this stuff, has a 95% success rate in drug addiction, in curing drug addiction. I've only heard one, and even then, like we talked about it before with Tua Lamb, it wasn't necessarily negative. He had some negative aspects that and you listened to that one.
Right.
And, even you with some of the things that you saw in there, but you got such a great benefit out of it.
Yeah.
Would you say it fixed you?
I would say it fixed my PTSD.
Okay. So why are we having such a hard time saying, okay, yeah, we can use that in this country? Why are other countries out there sitting there doing this or allowing?
Well, Kentucky started down the road of, we're going to allow it to be brought here, and they're going to start studying it and all that stuff. And then all of a sudden the highest law in the state, the state attorney general said, we're not going to be able to do that, so forth, so on.
So the question is,
so
why?
then they went to Ohio. It did the same thing. So I wonder whose pocketbook is getting padded on that one.
If you follow the money, I bet you find out.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the problem that I have. We have ways. Look, you know this as well as everybody else that listens to us. We're a Christian-based podcast. I believe that God can do anything. I believe in the power of prayer. I also believe that God has given us the things that we need to heal ourselves on this earth.
That's right.
I really do. And I think that those things are being stifled. And I think it's, like you said, you follow the money, you're going to find out why.
Yep. Yep. And even with the studies they've done in the 50s, they never, with Ibogaine, never found anything that was that it caused anything. There was nothing there. There was a guy that was from New York. He came in 2 days behind me. He was 54 years old, and he had worked in some kind of construction business that worked all around the world. Mm-hmm. And he was from Orange County, New York, and he had his knees replaced, dual knee replacement, because they had to be replaced. And he had never taken any narcotics. Well, he was highly addictive to narcotics, and he got addicted to them. Mm-hmm. Well, he also had a pile of inflammation in his knees from the surgery because his body was not responding to it as well as it should have. And the first day he was there, he was walking with a cane and hobbling around and everything. And then by the day I left, when I went to leave, he actually jogged around the pool to say goodbye to me. Now, I'll tell y'all, I'm just now getting back into that realm because I got kind of busy over the summer and I kind of didn't. But my wife and I, every morning, 3-minute ice bath.
Okay.
You want it 11 minutes a week. So we do 3 minutes every day. If you do 3 minutes every other day, you're going to get the response you need. It has a higher level of dopamine induction into your system than anything. You take an ice bath for 3 minutes, get out, you feel like $100 million.
I've heard that. There's a gym in Dothan that I'm a member at, Fit Culture. Not a sponsor either. They're great though.
I love how you do that. Not a sponsor. You can be a sponsor if you would like to be.
But, well, it's just a disclaimer that we're not condoning any of these things, but they do that. Then they believe wholeheartedly that it does, and they have a lot of case studies and all these things and everybody that I know. It's like they're all buying ice baths and these things because they truly believe and see that it's
because what it does for a lot of people is it takes your white fat and turns it to brown fat, which is more of a core fat, and your body's able to burn brown fat where it can't burn white fat. So you do that, plus you get dopamine, increases your dopamine level by 250%. It increases your dopamine levels higher and longer than cocaine ever would.
So a 3-minute ice bath.
3-minute ice bath.
That's all you need.
If you were to take cocaine, your levels are going to go up like 200%. And then after 10, 15 minutes, they're going to start coming down. Where with an ice bath, they go up 200%, and they come down to about 150%, and they go all the way out for another 8-10 hours.
And you don't get any of the negative side effects of cocaine.
No, you just get the shivers.
You just get the shivers.
Yeah, you just get the shivers.
We used to teach when I was an instructor. We used to teach about a dunker instructor for water survival. We taught about the cold water gas reflex. All right. So we would have some of the students, do that from time to time, and you jump into you can't to stay in an ice. that kind of water.
No,
for 3 minutes.
I've not done it. To be honest with you, I've not done it because it's like. But I have a hard time jumping into a cold.
So
pool.
the way that you keep from having the gasp is that what you do is you walk up to the tub, take a handful of water, splash your face. Then you get in, and it doesn't happen. Because your body has now had that response, that impact response.
Yeah, you get used to it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna tell you, I've been wanting to try it. And you've heard of the Scottish shower, where you take your shower, and then right before you get out, you turn all the hot water off and get it as cold as you can.
Always finish cold.
Always finish cold.
I've done that.
You stay in there for 3 minutes or whatever.
Yeah. Is that the same sort of?
Same concept.
You don't get the same benefits though, right?
Yeah, see, my wife in the wintertime, she likes to use the sauna.
Okay.
She loves hot.
Yeah,
She
so
loves
does my
hot.
wife.
I hate it. I hate
So
hot.
that's what I was about to say. I want to try the whole.
But
ice
she
bath
always
thing.
has to finish in the ice bath because
We
you're
don't even
always
have a
supposed
tub,
to
so we
finish
can't
cold.
try.
My wife will not. She cannot stand to be cold. She will not do that.
Well, mine
So I'm
won't
gonna
do it
suggest
either, but she gets in there. She does her. She may do 2 minutes, but if you try. Now that's one of the things that we did down there is that they teach you these different things. Meditation.
Okay.
Love meditation, man. 15-minute meditation, man. You feel like $100 million again.
Yeah.
So I like to, if I have the time at lunch, to go home, eat, sit down, do a sound meditation. One of the cooler things now, I just realized I found it last week, is there's Bible verse meditation.
Yeah, I've seen that.
So
I
you
was
can
going to say,
do
I've done
that.
some
what
of
does a
that,
meditation session look like for you?
So a meditation session, I just go home and I get like in a very comfortable chair, kind of just find a very comfortable place. Get a pair of headphones on like these. Nothing new you hear outside. Joe Dispenza is one that I use a lot because I like the way his meditations are, how he talks, how he makes you go through the breathing patterns. Now, a lot of times I can finish that 15-minute and I'm down for 15 minutes of a nap too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
That's
after I
'cause
get
we
from
got
that,
old.
and
Oh, okay.
so I feel
because
really
you're
good
so
from that.
relaxed. Yeah, at that point. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, my wife really likes to do for her meditation. She likes to do the bilateral music stimulation. Now that helped me with my PTSD a lot too.
Bilateral.
Yeah, it was
Music
the
stimulation.
bilateral music stimulation where you listen to music kind of like travels
Yeah,
from right ear to
hands
left.
and right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That helped me a lot.
Have you? Well, anyway, that's a total another topic. But yeah, that's definitely. I mean, meditation is important for everyone to do. I think
That's right.
And I talked about this Wednesday, I think,
Yeah.
about daily reflection every day at the end of the day, to even just go back and think about your day. Don't have anything else. Don't have anything else going on. Not your phone, nothing. But to go back and just sit and think about your day and the decisions you made and the choices you made and just reflect
Oh yeah.
on all of that stuff. But meditation that you're talking about is like, is it that you sit and you try to
It's
not
just
think
as you
about
sit,
anything?
that's right. It's just basically just shutting your brain off to get rid of the stress and the thoughts and the phones and all that stuff. And of course, I'm using it. I put it in airplane mode so I don't have any kind of distractions. No text coming in, no phone calls, and you just kind of listen to it. And you do the long breathing patterns, and then you're supposed to imagination and different things, imagine into your mind and those sort of things, and it just eliminates all the thought processes, worrying about a check, worrying about the bank, worrying about this, that. It just gives your body a chance to go.
We're going to reset here
yeah.
and get ready.
Yeah,
And
because
I got
how
you.
many of us don't wake up in the middle of the night thinking about something?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, even during sleep, we're stressed to death.
I did it
about
last
things,
night.
you
Well,
know?
I woke
do
up
it all
about
the time.
something, and I was going to ask Eric, like he knew. I don't know why I would even ask that, but
Yeah.
like I did. I totally woke up in the middle of the night, and it was immediately like I had something I had to do this morning, and it was because of I didn't have that time,
Yeah.
to be able to go back and sit down and map out what my day would be like, and just unwind and not think about anything. To start off your day like that, is so important for sure.
And we talked about ibogaine. I think everybody has a different response. People respond to counseling. People respond to EMDR. Some people can go through this whole thing and just don't ever get any kind of response from anything. I think the one or two people that didn't get a response from ibogaine just didn't have the vivid dreams like most everybody else did. Now, was that because of something that was going on in their life or what? Who knows? I have a friend lives in the Grand Cayman Islands. He was there when I was there. Lives in Georgetown, Grand Cayman Island. He's going back because he said he just didn't have the vivid dreams and he didn't get the response from it that he wanted.
Okay, so I do want to ask this because it sounds like it's a very beneficial process. Honestly, it sounds like something I would like to try myself. First question is, would you do it again?
Oh, yeah. I'd do it in a minute.
Okay.
You told me to get on a plane. We're going to Cancun today. I'd go. Now I'd do it
The
again.
second
As sick as
thing
I got,
is-
I'd do it again.
The second thing is, obviously, it's not anything that any kind of insurance is going to cover.
No.
So you're going to have an out-of-pocket expense on
Yeah, you're gonna have to. It's and that's one of the things that myself and Tom Freeman from Texas, we're working on trying with Tom. Beyond is trying to create a PTSD only facility next to the one they have in Cancun, so that they can use the shared facilities. He owns an old hotel, and we call it old, but it's gorgeous, man. I mean, it's crazy. But he's trying to create one that's just PTSD only, because what's one of the biggest things that we have in military, fire, police, and all that stuff? Camaraderie. So what he wants to do is have that camaraderie, have the different facilities set up where if you want to work out, you can work out. If you want to run, you can find they got a place to go run.
So not only are
So
you
do
getting
those sort of things.
the benefits of the treatment, you're getting the benefits of
Of
having
friendship.
that camaraderie.
That's
again,
right.
too.
That's right.
So you have that support element
Yep.
there.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
that's a good idea.
So he's working on building that. So as we go through that process, what he's hoping to do is Tom out of Texas has gotten like $3 million given to him to provide treatment for free to first responders and military. So I don't know where that process is right now. It's been a long time since we had a conversation about it, but I'm hoping to follow back up on it when we get closer to the end of the year and see where he's at, because he's talking about building a whole new facility down there.
So how much, if somebody sat there and said, okay, I'm going to go do this, how much can they expect to
You're going to
spend?
looking at $10,000 plus your airline ticket. Now, once you get down there, everything's done. They pick you up at the airport. They bring you back. They feed you. They wash your clothes for you. They do everything for you. You leave your clothes in a basket. You come back that morning, and that afternoon, your clothes are folded and sitting on
So
the
it's
bed.
basically an all-inclusive
It's all
resort,
inclusive,
so
yes.
with a really good treatment plan.
Yeah, yeah. Then there's therapy stuff going on all the time, and you're not obligated to participate. And that's what I will say for me. That if anybody was interested in going, and I will be more than happy to help them put them in the right place to go. But when you go with an open mind. I went kind of closed-minded the first couple of days, and I really wish now I had been more open-minded to some of the things that were going on. But once again, I let my good old Southern conservative body get in the way, you know.
Right.
So I probably would have participated more in the sound therapies and all that stuff, because after I'd done the flood dose, I was a lot more open-minded.
Yeah,
I was
bet.
I was more the person I used to be.
Right.
So, you know, and the way Tom said, he said, the reason you did that was because you're still in that protective mode from your PTSD,
That makes sense.
which we all are. You know, PTSD, we all sit facing the door. We all are worried about our family. We all are worried about everybody, where they're going, what they're doing. Protective. We're always, bam, going to go off in a moment's notice, you know.
Yep.
So, and that was some of the stuff that's changed for me. I don't have those explosive moments. Now, you ask my wife, I probably still do, but I have a lot of my friends that are like, you're not like you used to be. I don't let things that I can't control bother me as much as I used to. Whether that comes with age or experience, maybe.
Yeah,
but,
right.
I mean,
Or-
either one or the other.
Or the treatment.
Or
who
the
knows?
treatment, yeah.
Well, and
But-
that's I think that, golly, there's so many things going through my head right now. I think that one of the biggest issues probably Christians will have with this is that mental health is so tightly connected to our spiritual being.
It is.
In that I think that a lot of Christians think Jesus, if you have mental health issues, or that, you know, like you just said, I'm different now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's a phrase that's used in Christian circles. Is like, no, Jesus makes you different. And I would present, yeah, Jesus makes you different. Also, if you have a broken bone, Jesus can heal your broken bone.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he's given us doctors that do the same. Like, there are ways that your body can heal itself. And if you set the bone, and there are reasons he does it that way, in that you learn, yeah, can he fix somebody's mental health like that?
Yep.
it doesn't have to be so with God. But does he always? No, not always. Other times there are other avenues, and I think there are other avenues for a reason.
But I think us as Americans, we have become so bought into the system of whatever the doctor says is right.
Yeah.
But there's a whole nother line of holistic medicine stuff coming down the pipeline, y'all.
Right.
That different things are changing, and this would probably fall into that that realm.
Yeah.
Natural remedies, natural ways of doing things. Good Lord, I mean, there's people that lived through the 1800s that didn't have antibiotics. So I mean, there was ways they were doing stuff. You know?
Well, there are other countries. I mean, they've shown this too. I mean, we've gotten so used to, okay, the FDA is going to tell us that this is safe, and these people are going to tell us that this is safe, but our country is more unhealthy than other countries out there that don't have to deal with that.
Yeah.
So I'm like you. I think God gives us ways to do things, and as you said, I break my arm. Can God heal it like that? Sure, He can. But maybe He's going to work through the doctor.
Yeah, right. There's something else that you're supposed to go through. So, like, you went and did the ibogaine, but at the same time, you probably had experiences there that God wanted you to experience. Like, He wanted you to go
and that's
through
something else too, because a lot of those people that were there, I'm not picking on where they live, but there was people from all over the world. Now, this is not just a United States people showing up. Man, there was folks from Chile and Norway and Russia. There was a guy from Russia there. But there was a lot of unbelievers there. Now, was I put there for that reason?
Yeah.
Interesting,
possible.
Yeah,
it's very possible.
because there's the conversations came up about Christianity
right
a couple of different times.
Well, and I'm sure that's, like I said, since that's such a stigma with Christianity, these drugs, like you're taking drugs, but you're a Christian. You're saying all this, and a lot of those people there probably weren't Christian, like you said. And so, like,
it's no different than a Christian taking antibiotics.
Yeah. I mean, really. Yeah. I mean,
okay, so I make that argument.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you're not trusting God to heal you. Why are you taking that antibiotic?
Right.
But I guess where the stigma comes from is like I always thought is when I grew up. So psychedelic. If you had said that to us at 22 years of age, we'd have said, "Oh, that's a drug."
Yeah. You do mushrooms, and that's illegal.
It's a legal drug. That's how we used to say, a legal drug. Well, it's a drug, but it has a different use.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people
Now, like marijuana and the THC and all that stuff, there's some good stuff that comes out of that, and there's some pretty questionable things that go on with it. Yeah. I have a friend that has been dealing with PTSD that has, and what happens to a lot of these people is then they start self-medicating, which is alcohol, narcotics.
Right.
Then somebody tells you that, oh, well, that omega so-and-so THC is the greatest thing, but you're going to have to take twice the dose. No. There's some folks who've done some weird stuff, man.
Yeah.
And
I believe
Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not advocating the use of illicit drugs. Not at all.
No.
I'm saying that there are certain things that God has given us that we could use for better.
That's right.
And I think we need to use them instead of villainize a lot of them.
And if it's used with the mindset of, I'm going to use this to become healthy.
Yeah.
I'm not using this for pleasure. I'm using this to make myself healthy, because there are things that it will change in my life that I need in order for myself to be able to be healthy.
Yeah.
But that's such a double-edged sword, because you can't deceive yourself into thinking that if you're already healthy, you don't need to be taking ibogaine.
That's right.
If you're fine, if your mental health is great, and if you know what I mean, like, you don't need these things to be healthier, right? Like, there's a difference between I broke my arm, I go to the doctor, get my arm fixed. Now I'm in a cast. And then there's, I just want to wear a cast because it looks cool, but my arm's fine. Or even, I'm going to go to the gym and get bigger and bigger and bigger. Or I'm going to go to the gym just so I can get up out of this wheelchair and walk. Like, what are you using these things for?
What's the purpose of
What's
it?
your purpose
That's
of
right.
it? Yeah. You don't need to go and say, I just want to go experience this because I think I'm going to become a superhuman, or I'm going to, just I need to just do this so that I can have the experience.
Yeah.
I feel like that all of that would be the wrong reason to go, right?
That's right.
I think the main reason should be you have something in your life you cannot get past, and you've tried everything else.
Yep.
And now this is your other option.
Yep. And we were talking about ketamine earlier. There was a guy from Canada there. He was addicted to ketamine, and he was there to get off ketamine.
See,
With
there
Abigail.
you go. Yeah.
But
I think it's a good thing. I really do.
You know, but how many times when we talked about drugs and stuff, psyllium mushrooms, you know, they're a very good drug also. But once again, oh, you're taking mushrooms, you know. So, you know, it's the what's the word I'm looking for?
I keep using stigma.
Taboo.
Stigma. Yeah, there's the stigma of those different things that drives into it.
Yeah, you're not just taking it to get high. That's not the point. The
No.
point is that you're dealing with some demons, and you're trying to tackle that as best you can with the resources you have at hand.
Yep.
I see what you're saying. You know, if you have Jesus, then he can take all that away, and he can. But it does go back to what you said. It's like I said, maybe he's going to work through that doctor to mend your broken arm, or maybe God put that on this earth. Okay, I know you're going through this stuff, and here's how I give you this to help you go through the process to fix it.
Yeah.
I think it's a good thing. I think it's something that this country needs to look into allowing to be studied and or the use of it. Because like I said, everything that I've been told, to include your story, I've heard nothing but positive benefits from it.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know about the ibogaine there's no, addicting properties to it. So that's even better. And I think it's something that with what this country is going through, with what people from our field are going through, with what military is going through, even people that, traumatic victims of traumatic experiences in their childhood, in their life at any point. I think that these are things that will greatly benefit them. And it just bothers me to my core that we're not allowing it to be done.
Because we're just, I don't know, because we're just like, oh, drugs, shrooms,
Well,
or whatever,
I think
psychedelics.
it goes deeper than that.
If something gets corrected, then that's just one less drug that has to be taken.
There you go.
I do have to say this. We do have to say this, unfortunately, is that we are not doctors. I don't think you're a doctor.
No.
Are you a doctor?
No.
Definitely
I'm not a doctor. I'm not a doctor in any stretch of the imagination. Like, not a music
This
doctor.
is
not
all
any
based
kind of
on my
doctor.
experience.
This is all based on Jason's experience. And so if you want to explore this option, well, you're more than welcome. But you need to consult your doctor, and you need to talk to people and do the research for yourself. Because he did say, if you have cardiac issues, this might not be for you. So don't go to, where is it, Cancun?
Yep.
And have a heart attack and then blame us. Okay, we are not suggesting.
And
you
don't
know,
try to
they're not
figure
gonna,
out.
I promise you, if you go
They're
to
not
this
gonna let
facility,
you.
they're not going to let you come anyway.
And do not try to figure out how to do this on your own.
Because they scrutinize the devil out of you.
No,
Yeah.
and say, I'm going to get my hands on some ibogaine because they told me to. I'm going to do microdoses. I'm going to take care of it myself. No, you're not.
No,
And that's
don't
not
do
what
that.
we're saying
We're
at all.
not saying that.
No, none of these things. We're just trying to put the information out there because we feel
That's
like more
right.
people need to know this stuff, and it could help you.
We're just having a very, very interesting conversation.
That's right. That's it. And so we are not suggesting anything. We just want to make people aware of an option that they might be able to look into for themselves.
I do like what you said earlier. You felt like this was that God told you that this was okay.
Yeah.
So I'm good with it, man. I think it's something that should be explored more.
Yeah. When you get on your knees and pray, and then you open the Bible up, and your eyes go straight to a verse that tells you it's okay. Yeah, I think it's okay.
I've said this before, but in law enforcement, we call that a clue.
Yeah.
Clue, yeah.
Yeah.
You got a clue.
Yeah.
Well,
You got a clue.
But that's we would love to see people explore their options, not withhold the things that are going on in their minds.
Let me ask you this.
I've got buddies that are going through this, and we're going to try to start doing some things around here because there's so much.
okay. So you mentioned it a couple of times.
really quick before you go into that, because I really want you to talk about that.
Yeah, that's
At the same time, did you do any kind of? Have you ever done drugs before this? Like any kind of? No kind of narcotic. No kind of. Not even weed. Not smoking cigarettes. Nothing.
Never did.
Okay, so there you go. Like it wasn't because he was like,
No,
hey, I've done this.
No,
I want the
because I had a
experience.
history of it. No.
Sorry, I just had to make sure.
He wanted to get something fixed.
Yeah.
Are you going to be working with any kind of organizations, or are you trying to set up something?
I think we're going to try to set up a organization in the Wiregrass area for people that are having these issues, to not necessarily send them to Ibogaine or send them to Beyond or anything like that. It's really to create that foundation to help them know the resources they need to exploit.
Okay.
I mean, if you need to go do counseling, then I think we need to help people learn how to go find counseling.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say jumping on Ibogaine is the way to go right out of the hole. I mean, give things opportunities to work.
Right.
And if they don't work, then yes, then those start exploring different
This is
things.
an option.
Your body can only take so much of this before we talked about. You know, a lot of people give in to that, that desperate need to have peace, and it helped me tremendously. And I wish I had embraced some of the things a lot more. And that's what I want to tell people is if they're going to go do this, then go with it with an open mind. Do not have any kind of closed mindedness about it, because I think the more open you are to it, the better your response is going to be to it.
One of the things, and we probably are running a little bit long, we probably need to
Wrap it up.
But one of the things that you said is, you know, you train to do these things to teach you how to do your job, but we're never really trained on how to
Get away from our job.
Right.
Yeah.
And one of the things, you know, we used to sit there and teach us. I could teach anybody how to clear a building, deal with a bad guy, draw a fire. You know, what leads up to that, how to handle that and mitigate it. But I've never seen anything on how to deal with the after effects of it.
Yep.
Okay. One of the things that I've always said is I think, and some departments may be doing it, I don't see it a lot around here, is having that, and it's gotten better. I will say that it's gotten better, you know, with peer support and the different things that some departments are now doing to try to keep up with some of the mental health of their officers, but it's kind of like they're trying to play catch up.
Yep.
Why aren't we sitting there, especially with your larger departments, fire department, what doesn't matter, and having those therapists on staff? And every year, whether you need it or not,
Do a mental evaluation.
absolutely.
Yep. Or where you are.
One of
the kind of thing.
The first time I was working with the Army as an instructor, we had that every year. But what we were doing and what we were teaching and stuff like that, you had to go through that every year, whether you needed it or not. And I think that that's something that would be a positive benefit on the EMS and first responder side of things, is for agencies or for that to be looked at because of the nature of the job itself. You know, we sit there and say, okay, we teach you how to do it. But like you said, we don't teach you how to separate from it.
Well, I think a lot of stuff, you know, we call it CSI, critical incident stress debriefing, CSID. And, you know, they started out great, and then it became, four people sitting around the table going, how'd that bother you? It was okay. It was over in 2 minutes,
Yeah,
you
we're
know.
good. Yeah.
Group therapy session.
So it didn't have any kind of structure to it. Knowing from what I know from the past and how I feel about things, I think, like you talked about, having a mental staff on staff. I mean, how many times are you going to have these bad incidences happen?
You don't know.
Very rarely. And then you don't know. You don't. I mean, you may have 10 a day. You may have
I think that's
10 a
gonna be
year.
dependent on where and, you know.
But I think the
where
most
you are.
severe ones and how it affects people, they should have an anonymous test that they can take that says that this is how I was, how it bothered me, or not anonymous, but confidential.
Confidential, yeah.
So, Eric, you worked a wreck with 2 kids that died. You need to go in here and do this program on this computer, and it goes straight to them. Nobody in your station or your squad or anything knows about it, but at least it's on the record, so that down the road we can track back to what keyed him off when he had these points.
Yeah.
It happened, you know. But we're a long way behind in mental health.
Yeah. Well, we actually had a Dr. Olivia Johnson on to talk about suicide prevention.
Yeah.
And
was a good one.
the way we've got it all wrong and all these things, and how she says a lot of what we try to do, it's like we're just doing cleanup constantly instead of really actually doing preventative work, real preventative work. And it sounds like that is a big thing to it, is getting those classes, getting that training back in its proper place and in the proper format. You know, that's a huge thing that needs to happen.
Well, and 40 years ago, everybody went to church.
Mm-hmm.
And that was your family.
Yeah.
And that family is what helped you get through some of this stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't have that structural support in
Well, that's one thing that
today.
we're trying to bring back.
Yeah.
We're trying to bring that faith aspect of things back.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, that's your faith is what's going to get you through what you need to get through.
That's right.
Yeah. All the way.
And I think that's probably a good place for us to wrap up.
Good stuff.
Hey, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah.
If you want to look into this more, I'm sure that Jason here would have no problem talking to people about it. I think it's something that we need to explore. Very interesting topic to me. Thomas,
Yeah.
you got anything?
No, thank you, Jason,
Thank
so
you
much,
very
man.
much.
That was a really, really fascinating conversation. I think I learned a ton from that, and being able to talk through that kind of stuff helps me whenever I have conversations with people. You know, to be able to give them some more clarity
yeah.
and maybe giving them another option.
That's right.
Even as a pastor, you know, not that I'm going to say you need to do A, B, and C, and I'm not a doctor or anything, but to be able to say, look, you've tried everything.
Have you
Here's-
thought about
here's
it?
an
Talk about
option.
this. That's right.
You know, and give people the liberty and the freedom just to branch out and say, okay, this might
yeah.
actually help me.
Well, if you
And
know
not
somebody's
feel
been
bad about
if
that.
you know somebody's been dealing with this for 10 years and they're not getting any results,
Yeah.
this is an
Well,
ideal
you're
thing
actually
they
the
need to be
first
looking
person
into.
that I've been able to talk to that has had an actual, that has been there
Done the treatment.
and done it. And that is, you've got a lot of things that I didn't know, and I kind of want to talk to you more about.
That's fine. Anytime.
So,
Outside of that, hey man, follow us on YouTube.
yep.
Thanks for tuning in. Remember our Cutthroat Club.
Yep.
Make sure you go there.
Cutthroatclub.com/The Shepherd is our link. If you use that link, you get a 10% discount for everything that you buy. They got kits, all the fun stuff, beginner kits and stuff for your kids. And then also like the actual premium, really nice stuff that you will want in your home. It's really nice for sure. And then also, YouTube should be suggesting a video probably right about now, maybe right here. You should check that one out. It's supposed to be exactly what you like, what you'd want to listen to. So check that out too.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We love you. We'll see you next time.